unemployment rate at the end of the month.
That's absolutely right. Thanks, Brian. Well, she saw something, so she said something. But this woman who tipped off police to a child trapped in a hot car is paying a terrible price for doing the right thing. Shannon Dominguez is now confined to a wheelchair after the mother she reported ran over her with the car. Joining me now is that woman, Shannon. Thanks for being with us, Shannon. You know,
You're welcome.
It's awful to hear that in trying to save a life, really, and do the right thing, you are now in this situation in a wheelchair. Can you describe for us what happened?
We're sitting in the parking lot, and a lady pulled up in front of us, got out of her car, locked her car, and went inside the store. And then when I looked back, I realized that there was a little boy in the front seat. And just out of instinct, I called 911. She came out and heard me on the phone with 911. And then there was a verbal altercation where she was saying some pretty horrific things to me. And then she told me she was going to kick my butt. At that point, Alan got out of the car and stood between us and said, you know, you're not going to touch her. Nobody's going to touch anybody. You're not touching her. So she slapped him so hard that it left a handprint mark on his face. And then she jumped in her car. She backed up as fast as she could, and then she hit the gas, and it was like her tires were squealing. And next thing I know, I was ran over. I can still see her running over my foot and going up my leg. And then she hit Alan, and he went up and over her hood, and she drug him for 20 feet.
I'm sure that...
And the next...
Go ahead.
The next thing I remember is hearing a bunch of people screaming, call 911, call 911. And an old lady, oh, not old, she was a couple of years older than me, had turned my car off, locked my car doors, and brought me my purse and sat with me holding my head and my shoulder until Alan got to me. And I don't know her name to thank her, but I thank her with all of my heart.
She was sure there for you as you were trying to be there for this child. You saw this woman who drove that car and put you in this situation. You saw her in court. What happened?
She laughed at me. Her first court appearance, she was an hour and a half late. And then she turned around and looked at me and laughed. And then the next court date, she waived her rights to a preliminary hearing, and she was just all smiles and bouncing like it was no big deal. Like she hadn't done anything but maybe run over somebody's toe.
Shannon, you know, you did a heroic thing, and you're paying a terrible price for that, but we just want you to know here you have our support, and so many parents out there, thank you for taking the actions that you did, and we wish you well.